Hello, everyone. So, you are welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm just doing a presentation of Sweets of 2017. So, the backstory to this is that I was vetting my Twitter account, which is at DNDon, and I got to this part. And I had forgotten about it for some reason, which I'm grateful for. So even though I said it, I'm like, okay, I want to delete all of this because I don't want to keep the memory of this event. The event is that I was called by a friend to come to attend this Digital Pay Expo 2017 at Eco Hotel in Lagos and to help them to record the live session. So pretty much what I did was that I used my laptop to record, the live sessions, and then I summarized the events and attached the summary to the brochure of the event. You get what I mean? So that was what I was supposed to help them to do, and they were supposed to pay me 30,000. It was is it 3 days event? Yes, 30,000. As as far as the rate was, I accepted because it wasn't like my day job, right? This was supposed to be something that I was doing on the side. So I accepted. And then when I got to the venue, I was asked to help them to also tweet so that we can increase visibility. So when people search for the hashtag, they can see a lot of people tweeting about it, which I did. It's okay, it's a friend and everything. But the sad story to it is that there was nothing signed. It was just word of mouth, and I just trusted and I went for it, and I was not paid. So at the end of the event, I was wondering, am I going to be paid? Am I not going to be paid? In fact, I wasn't even fed at the event. It was a full day event, like morning to evening. I wasn't fed, but I didn't mind because I was there for business, right? So I wasn't fed, I wasn't accommodated, which is not my business. My business is my pay, right? Because I wasn't promised to be fed or accommodated. But guess what? I wasn't also paid. I was told different stories, like excuses, apologies. I felt really bad for a long time, but I moved past it. And I'm thankful that, I don't even, it's funny that I'm thankful that I don't even feel bad about it anymore. It's just I don't want it on my Twitter again. So I've deleted all of it. But now before I decided to like screenshot because one thing about me is that I don't like to share off essential memories. So I was screenshotting, to like just save it because I also blogged this and I will put it on the description box so you can see it, the link to the blog. I also put it on my WordPress, and it was like as I was screenshotting and saving and put it on the WordPress, it's about 14 slides. Yes. I was realizing that a lot of information has changed. When we talk about digital fintech payments, it looks new only at that moment. A lot of information here has changed. And it's also interesting that I worked in the fintech industry, like shortly, like a year after this, like around this time, the next year, I got a job, a paid employment at a fintech, Lagos, Nigeria. And I felt prepared for that job. So you see how one would one making lemons out of lemonade, or how is it? Not me, I didn't make it, but the opportunity came, and I was really prepared for it, even though I wasn't my role in the fintech payment was not in product management and all of that, but I already had in-depth knowledge. I never really talked about it. Like I have a bad thing that I do. I don't talk about what I know. Maybe I should be bolder. Is it more like bold or more bold? Like I should be bolder to talk about the things I know. Maybe I should have used this information to negotiate a bigger role and a bigger salary. But thanks be to God, I didn't, because if I had followed that path, I won't be on the path that one now. Anyway, so I just really wanted what this video is about, this presentation. Welcome to a presentation of how digital payments have changed in Nigeria since 2017. So I want us to just go through these tweets together. I know that a lot of my viewers are Nigerians from across the world. And if you're not in Nigeria, you're also welcome to understand how digital payment has changed, right? Or may not have changed. So that's what caught my attention. I'm like, I could put this into a video, record it, and just say, things have changed or things may not have changed. All right, let's go. So this is the first screenshots. All right. Is in a descending order. You know how Twitter does. Twitter starts from the most recent. So I captured it from the last tweets I did. So it will go from the last tweets down. So let's go with me. Let's have fun doing this. So, right here, this particular tweet is talking about really what this event was really about, inviting digital payment companies and startups to like expose themselves. Is expo now, like to like market themselves, like to register and talk about their products and all of that. So um I'll just talk about some tweets. So here it says digital processes must still need physical branches. Yes, I agree. So when I worked in where I worked the next year, we didn't start off with any physical branch. And even when we eventually had a physical branch, it was not open to customers. So the whole idea was that it was supposed to be a virtual product. So you're not supposed to have any reliance on anything physical. You're not supposed to submit any fixed physical forms. You do all your transactions online. So even though a few people traced the branches, because you know when it comes to money, Nigerians don't smile. So if their money is somewhere and they are not seeing what is happening, they want to trace it down. So a few people traced down to find where this was, but it wasn't ever encouraged. So yes, it may still need, so there are still physical branches. So a lot of fintechs in Nigeria have physical branches, even though they don't promote the physical branches, but yes, they do have it. So this was when Wema Bank Alert first started. It was like a big deal, right? Now there are a lot of payment platforms in Nigeria. Like the thing happens in the speed of light, right? Yeah. So um so the next point is that I'm noticing. So I'm just going through. So just be going through with me as we're going through. Every sector has been disrupted by digital processes. Is that true? Yes and no. So when the digital became very like new, everybody wants to do everything that is new. That's one. I don't know whether it happens everywhere, but in Nigeria, everybody wants to do new things. Like, so it seemed disrupted, but I think right now, not so much. Some people are still very largely on digital and they are making their money, especially the oil and gas. They're not necessarily digital in Nigeria and they are making their money. Yeah. So how do we increase the flow of transactions across Africa? This business. Now, Intermark, I don't even know much about Intermark. These days, do we even hear about Intermark? I think what's more popular is InterSwitch. I don't know if it's the same thing, but I don't know what this Intermark. Honestly, I don't remember what they were doing then. But this was their presenter. Okay. So the end game is to have a combined wallet with which you can perform various transactions at once. This has become a norm. Everybody wants to have a wallet where you can, it's like a bank app where you can do everything. You can transfer money, you can take loans, you can buy gifts, you can do everything. And to be honest, this is what a lot of fintechs do in Nigeria. They just create these wallets for you where you can do everything. But in my opinion, I would say keep it simple. Simple. Don't subscribe to a lot of them at the same time. It's tricky because they're already out there for business. Okay, they said don't sell the data generated for something else. Well, we will have to look into most of the digital companies in Nigeria to ascertain that they don't do this. Because globally, I think some companies do this, right? Security and balance. My point on security will simply be if you don't understand something, don't do it. If you don't need something, don't do it. Don't do it because it's popular, it's new, it's attractive. Don't, because you never can tell. Digital is not an end, but it means to an end. Very true. People always think that digital is like you should be using digital to get something pretty much. So it still applies now. Yeah. We should put in context an Africanness to digital. I saw something unrelated to this about an international brand now doing jollof rice in Nigeria. I think it's Domino's, right? Now doing jollof rice in Nigeria. And it made me laugh because I'm like, yo, this is so Nigerian. But is it so good for business? Because I know that people that I don't know what their survey is like, I don't know what data they're working with. But if you ask me, I'll say the people that go to Domino's are not going there for jollof rice. But you know, Domino's is trying to put out jollof rice in their menu so that they can attract more customers. So they're looking at increasing their number. But you know, that's how Nigerian works. People that go to Domino's want to buy pizza. Even though they might not go as much and Domino's might not turn out as much revenue as, let's say, um, Chicken Republic, right? Because of the pricing and because of the product itself. But with the jollof rice, it will complicate things because there's a little bit of, oh, I don't want to go to Domino's to eat jollof rice in the mix, and they might lose their customers to the next pizza company. So I use this to explain this Africanness to digital. I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. I agree. Just be reading through as I'm just reading through. For data to become oil, it has to be mined and refined. Data is the new oil. Oh. But the thing about data being the new oil is that it's riskier. So oil was from the ground. It didn't touch human beings, but data is really you online. That's what data simply means, you online. Your information, everything about you. So I think data is something that you have to be very careful of. Our personal data, how we release it, is something you have to be very essentially careful of because for first things first, how many of us read through all the terms and conditions? Those things run into 20 pages. To be honest, I've not ever read through one terms and condition, like the full 20 to 25, sometimes 50 pages. And if you read that thing in details, you would be scared for yourself. So I don't read. What I just ask myself, do I need this app? Yes, I accept it because if I read all those things, I might not accept it. So I just ask myself, do I really, really, really need to be on this app in this season right now? Do I need my information here? Yes. Then another thing is that when they ask for permission for cookies, if there's a way I can skip it all together, I deny everything. If not, only essential cookies. Because information, all you have to be careful. Another thing, also Wi-Fi usage. If you subscribe to Wi-Fi, you're pretty much exposing your online self out there. So it's something that we have to be really, really careful. These companies are really making money. The other companies are making money because what they're doing is that they are really, they might not be selling, but they're really telling investors we have access to 100,000 people's online information. So if you invest in this business, 100,000 people get to interact with your business. That's the long and short of digital, virtual, online, all of that. So we have to be very wary. So what's happening here? Millennials. Funny, the last place I worked, I was doing a project on Gen Z and millennials. It's funny how in 2017 everybody was shouting millennials, millennials. Just 5 years down the line, Gen Zs have taken over. Like I feel like millennials did not really, especially the last of the millennials, which I belong. I feel like we didn't really have the time to be like to blossom. I feel like our time was really, really short. Like age-wise, I'm a millennial, but when it comes to productivity wise, I don't feel that we had that opportunity to do a lot. I feel like millennials that were born early 80s had a lot of time to shine. But millennials that were born late 80s, early 90s, their time frame to shine was so short and Gen Zs have taken over. So it's not as if they are competing with Gen Zs. It's so funny. Very, very funny. But then, well, the point I'm making here is that people are talking about millennials. People were talking about millennials. Meanwhile, now Gen Z. So seasons change, attractions change, different things change. Gen Z's their work ethic, their behavior, absolutely different from millennials. Story for another day. So I think that's it. Digital natives, digital migrants. So digital migrants, people that they call digital migrants are really people from the past generation. I feel like I should send this presentation to my former boss. Anyway, the digital migrants are like the baby boomers, the Gen X, like people that were born in the 60s, 70s that learned to use digital systems. Those are the digital migrants. Then the digital natives are mainly millennials, Gen Z, people that we are born into the system. So by the time we were born, there was already email, internet, social media. You didn't learn it. Like it was just what you were used to. If I would give an instance that can drive the point home, I would say like when you what they call it, like if you're in Nigeria, if you are Igbo, like if you were born in the 70s, 80s, you probably learned to speak English, right? If you grew up like Igbo was more commonly spoken on the streets. You probably like 70s and early 80s and 60s. Okay, let me just be safe. Let me use the 60s. You probably learned to speak English in school, right? But if you were born in the 90s, 2000s, you didn't learn to speak English. You were born into English and English speaking community. So that's what this kind of means. It means that while our parents learned to speak English, we were born into it. So we are millennials, Gen Z, youngsters, we're born into this digital system. So you're just growing up with computers everywhere, digital apps everywhere. You can develop things like all of that. Our parents are learning to use them or have to learn to use them. So that's what the difference between digital migrants and digital natives is. So digital disruption is spreading across industry. Hmm. Yes or not? I'll keep that. We are in the age of information revolution. Really in the form age of information revolution. I think we can be in the age of anything. Mm, there's great opportunity in fintech for millennials in the Nigerian digital space. Yeah, there's still, yes, but as you can see, Gen Zs are not giving millennials breathing space anymore. So why platform companies they scale a lot faster and create more value? Do they really create more value? But yes, they scale a lot faster because people want numbers. People want to see how much can I make. This the truth is that investors are business people. They just want to make more profit. So they see that you're doing something and they see the catch is always, the attraction is always, how many people can you reach? How many people are your apps or whatever digital creations you're doing reaching? So that's why you see a lot of tech bros, taxis, tech, whatever they call themselves, right? Their prerogative is to reach more people. So they want you to launch their app, use their app, so that they can go for all those series of investments, series A, series, whatever series, the lingo, all of that, so that they can attract more people and say, hey, I am reaching so and so numbers. You can invest in my app, you can do this, you can do that. And sometimes also they collaborate with big companies that already have these numbers. There's a lot of business and mathematics in all of that. So that's happening. Does authentication need to be hard? Are you excluding or including your customers? Do you still have a radio cassette? Has it not been archived for future references? Interestingly, there is this digitalization thing that is going on. A lot of research, academic research grants cover this, where they go to digitize analog systems. So you can see, I'll give you an instance now, like the British British Crown, the British royalty, like the late Queen of England, when she took pictures, all of those were analog systems. They were not online, but there was a digitization process that took all of those analog systems and put them in a digital or online system where it could be easily accessed. Yeah, so that's it. Mm, Privacy is not really an issue anymore. It's still an issue. It's an issue. It's an issue. It's an issue. You should be worried about that. And I don't know if we use drones for delivery in Nigeria, they may be stolen before they land. This thing, I thought about this one time and I was like, but it wasn't the stealing that was the point for me, because drones fly across Nigeria these days. But my concern about drones is the accidents that will happen. Have you ever seen a drone fly over you before? That thing has energy. Like, I have a feeling that if a drone is mistakenly controlled wrongly, it can land on somebody's head and kill the person. That's the concern I really have with drones. So imagine 100 companies able to fly drones in one area at the same time. So just imagine small planes flying at the same time. No, I don't want that. So for me, I'm not anti-digital. I'm like, there are pros and cons. So where everything. Biometric authentication has a place in today's digital world. This biometric thing, you have to be really careful, because the way biometrics works is that with your fingerprint, I know not a person has the same fingerprint, they can trace you. So you really have to be careful where you're biometricing. So very, very careful. And when you use biometrics, you also have to be careful with how you make that information available. In Nigeria, it's going to be things like your I nearly said VPN. What's this thing now that the banks used to take? It starts with V, but that thing that Nigerians had to do, like even the NIN, the one for the bank, I've forgotten, it skipped my mind, but you know what I'm talking about. So you have to be very careful how you allow people to access your information on that. Highly, highly careful, because so that people don't use your information for fraud and it gets back to you, or use it for criminal activities. So very careful. So digital times call for more careful. We need to train and retrain our people in the latest use of fintech systems. To this, I'll say just hire Gen Zs and millennials. That's just what I'll just say. That's their forte anyway. So instead of training and training, just hire them and let the old people do what they know how to do best. So we have a blend of analog and digital and our world becomes a better place. Um, Zero cash technologies may also be associated with risk. How big? What the risk? Are you sure is what the risk? Of course, for the businessman is what the risk. Like, I mean, cash in the bank is what the risk. Profit is what the risk. Having investors is what the risk. But for you, the customer, is it what the risk? So you should ask yourself that question. Nigerian cashless policy has created a platform for competitions and corporations among businesses. Cashless policy, Nigeria cannot never really be cashless in this. I think it will take for the generation after Gen Z for Nigerians to be cashless. And that's because Nigerians follow the American system. Because in the Europe, people are not cashless. This cashless thing they were shouting in Nigeria, cashless, cashless. Europe is not necessarily like that. People prefer cash to card. A lot is all these new generation companies that are very much open to card. If you go to some traditional companies that are thriving very well in Europe, you realize that these people don't want your cash. Some places will not even accept card from you. It's that deep. So when you do nothing, you get screwed. Well, possible. So soon in a snap of finger, digital payments might start to happen. Digital payments in 2017 was not very popular in Nigeria. I need us to always remember this. It was not very popular in Nigeria. People had to go to the bank to make payments. So even if you wanted to make digital payments, you had to also go to the bank for them to initiate it. And let's also understand that this was the days when the most smartphones were not Android enabled, they were BlackBerry enabled, and BlackBerry apps could not download and do all those app transactions that people are able to do. Yeah, 2017 looks like it was just yesterday, but 2017, what was more popular then, even the iPhones that were popular then, not everybody the space to have a lot of apps running at the same time. I'm talking about the Nigerian situation was not that much. So things have changed. So when they said soon in the snap of a finger, they didn't know how fast it will happen. That most of all these phones and technologies will keep upgrading. And now it's as if like when was digital payment never an option? As of 2017, it was not so much of an option then. So yeah, the idea is to collaborate with already existing players on the fintech platform. This is the truth. I remember in 2015 in Ibadan, two boys were invited for TEDx. They had created, this is 2015, so context is very essential here. They had created an app that could that could buy you could buy data, something like how you can just go to your bank and buy data. So they have created an app like that for Glow and MTN, I remember. And they were so proud of themselves. And then I didn't even have sufficient information about the big data, but I knew that that thing was not so, it wasn't so much of an innovation that they should be content. Like their presentation was largely content. And I was thinking, no, these boys are getting it wrong. Yes, they've done something good, but this thing will be they can be easily taken over by banks once they see the opportunity. Of course, what they had done was that they were connecting banks to um the telecoms providers. So that was what they were doing. And then I was thinking, this thing that they are bragging about and they're largely content about will, in the twinkling of an eye, just be taken over by banks. And I remember one man also said it to them. He advised them. He was also a speaker and advised them that this is good stuff, but don't be content. And guess what? Of course, as we speak now, you don't need any third party app to recharge from your bank in Nigeria. Do you know? So you see how that has phased up. So you need to collaborate, you have to renovate yourself. Yeah, a whole lot happens in the digital space. So it's a journey of doing and redoing and all of that and all of that and all of that. Yeah. So how can Nigeria prosper without oil? Nigeria can prosper with agricultural products. Nigeria can prosper anyhow. It's just leadership is not really getting it right in terms of our prosperity. You're just hyping a few things, oil and now tech and all that. I don't want to talk about that. That's not what this purpose is for. So this is it. Technology in Nigeria seems to be in its early days, but it's going to explode in about 5 years' time. And this is about 5 years' time. Technology in Nigeria is crazy. Everybody is a tech bro. I'm not supposed to be swearing. Just look in your circle, especially if you live in Lagos. Maybe if you're in more conservative states like let me think of which states are very conservative. I don't know conservative states anymore. But if you're in more conservative states in Nigeria, you might not believe. But if you're in very progressive states like Lagos, digitally progressive states like Lagos, everything is digital. A lot of people don't even carry cash. You can live in Lagos a whole month and you didn't make it, especially if you have the money and the means. You can live in Lagos a whole month and you didn't make any payments with cash. Highly possible. You don't even need to use your ATM card. Is that possible? All you just need to do is app payments, transfers, and you are just good. So these people really hit it on the nail. This 2017 Digital Expo needs to be curated as history. So maybe that's what I'll term this, a creation of digital history. Times are exciting. Artificial intelligence is making things quite cool. Siri, somebody calls Siri. What's that word between Siri and the other one with Siri? Siri is Apple. What's the one for Android? I don't know. I don't use them intentionally. So yeah, but then there are Apple Watches, there are all of that. So yeah. Dear millennial, how efficient are your e-payment systems? I think we should be asking Gen Zs this question now because they've taken over. Digital wallets and digital currencies will drive the digital payments of the future. I think the future, I said the future was the future of that 2017 was now, because future of the next 5 years, it is going to be crazy. Maybe people will be going to space. I don't know where that is going to come from. In 2005, ATMs were the next big things. And that is true. I remember my ATM experience. I'm telling you, just the way this digital team flies, these days, payment is about making more efficient options available. That's when you guys, tech bros. The world was decidedly mobile. In today's world, it's now on demand. Okay. Our kids may not be familiar with the use of hard copy magazines. Why digitization? But yes, they will not be familiar, but they will glamorize it because it will not be like all this archived information, and they will like, oh my god, magazines from the 60s. You know how our parents drove 504 as their normal car and Volkswagen, and we didn't even like it growing up. Some of us wanted our parents to buy the more recent Mrs. What was the Mrs. range then? I think it was Mrs. 200 or the more recent Volvo cars then. But these days, we look at, when we want to shoot a film or a music video that is classic, we want to go and bring 504, we want to go and we want to bring B2, we want to bring all those old cars. That's how this life is. So this is the end of my presentation. What did you learn? Digital Pay Expo. So yeah, this is it. So this video has helped me curate information and go through stuff. What did you learn? What did you learn? Thank you. If you made it to now, this is your best chance to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Subscribe and be blessed.